Welcome back, everyone. Day 2 of the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago. But do want to take a look at some video we got a little while ago of Harris and Walz arriving at their rally there on the ground in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They're actually going to be in the same arena where Donald Trump was just a few weeks ago for the Republican National Convention. Of course, a number of people know how important it is to win Wisconsin. But perhaps the most pivotal state in all of this, deemed must win for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, is Pennsylvania. And joining us now is a Pennsylvania Democratic Governor, Josh Shapiro. Thank you so much, Governor, for joining us.
Great to be with you. Thanks.
So we just talked about how important your Keystone State is.
Right.
Donald Trump was there over the weekend. Kamala Harris was there over the weekend. What's it going to take for Pennsylvania voters in November?
Look, it's the ultimate swing state, and the last 2 presidential races have been settled by a point or less in a state of 13 million people. One race was settled by 44,000 votes, the next by 80,000 votes. So it's razor thin. Here's what I'm seeing on the ground, though. Incredible enthusiasm for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. A real movement in the polls, and effectively a tied race, right? A point or 2 here or there. But importantly, Kamala Harris is showing up in communities that are oftentimes ignored and left behind, sending a message to Pennsylvanians. She cares about them. She's focused on the economy. She's focused on their communities. And I think as this race progresses, you're going to continue to see real momentum on her part.
Former President Trump out on the campaign trail himself today. He has said that he's been watching the DNC at least the first night so far. And he told his supporters he watched last night in, quote, amazement as they tried to pretend that everything was great. The crime was great. The border was great. There wasn't a problem at all. No inflation, no nothing. What do you think about his assessment about what he's hearing?
Well, I'm glad Donald Trump is spending his time on the couch watching the DNC, because if he's watching, clearly he's going to see an incredibly energetic, diverse group of not just speakers, but an incredible crowd here as well, talking about issues that matter most to Pennsylvanians and all Americans. Look, let's not forget what life was like under Donald Trump. To put succinctly, it was more chaos, less jobs, and a whole lot less freedom when Donald Trump was in charge. And I'll tell you what, we do not want to go back to that chaos. We do not want to go back to losing our freedoms. Think about it. On Donald Trump's watch, millions of women across this country lost the fundamental freedom to be able to make decisions over their own bodies, and he's promising to restrict more of our freedoms going forward.
It is now day 30 of Kamala Harris's race. Her website still does not have a policy page just yet. She hasn't sat down for a sit-down interview or done a press conference. There are those who say that as a result, she doesn't want to, that she's hiding from voters, that she doesn't want to actually confront her record. What do you say to that criticism?
Well, if it's day 30, I take your word for it. It feels, by the way, sometimes like it's been 300 days and other times like it's been 3 days. But what I've seen is Kamala Harris out in the community, I think pretty much every day, making sure that she's meeting voters where they are. When she was in Beaver County, Pennsylvania, which for those who don't follow Pennsylvania politics, pretty rural county in southwestern Pennsylvania, she was there talking about economic issues, how she would lower costs for families. She was doing the same thing in North Carolina, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the day or a couple days before. So she's out talking about these issues, making sure she's meeting voters where they are and laying out her vision. I'm sure she'll continue to do that over the next 30 days.
Of course, you made it to the final round of the VP selection. Once again, over the weekend when Donald Trump was in Pennsylvania, he said they turned him down because he's Jewish. Your reaction to that?
Look, Donald Trump has absolutely no credibility to speak on that issue. He is someone who has injected consistently division into our politics, pitting one against another, separating people out, and engaging in anti-Semitic tropes and other forms of hatred and bigotry during his time in office. Remember, this is the person who, when a mob was marching in Charlottesville carrying tiki torches, yelling, "Jews will not replace us," This is the same guy who said there are fine people on both sides. There were not fine people on both sides. I will not be lectured by Donald Trump, someone who is morally bankrupt. What we need right now are leaders to speak and act with moral clarity. That's what I try to do every day. It's what Kamala Harris tries to do every day. And let me state very clearly, for the record, there is no role of anti-Semitism in the dialogue I had with the vice president. Now, there is anti-Semitism in our country. There is other forms of hatred and bigotry in our country. And what we need right now is leaders not to stoke divisions, but leaders to stand up and speak and act with moral clarity. I do that every day. Kamala Harris does that every day. And Donald Trump has yet to do that as the leader of this country or as a would-be leader of this country.
Back in 2019, when Kamala Harris was first running for president, she supported a ban on fracking. Now she doesn't. That's one policy issue that Republicans point to say you can't trust her. That obviously is an important issue in your state of Pennsylvania. How do you explain her shift there?
Well, I think she can explain why she's taken that position. What I will say is that she's listening to the good people of Pennsylvania. I'm an all-of-the-above energy governor. I think that's where a lot of people are in Pennsylvania, and that's clearly where the vice president is. We understand in Pennsylvania that being all of the above on energy means job creation. It also means addressing climate change. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can do both. We are proving that in Pennsylvania, and Kamala Harris understands that.
You've obviously known Kamala Harris for more than 20 years. We've heard a lot about her as the politician, the prosecutor. You know her personally. Can you give us some kind of anecdote, something that you might be able to share that we don't know about her?
You know, she's fun, she's interesting, and she genuinely cares about people. I think, you know, sometimes you see folks on TV, I obviously mean this, there's no disrespect, and it's hard to get to know them. It's hard to kind of understand what really makes them tick. I think with Kamala Harris, people make her tick. Standing up and helping them, solving their problems, making their lives a little bit better, that's what makes her tick. So Lori and I have enjoyed getting to know her and Doug over many years. They're wonderful people, they're caring people, they're warm people. They just care about folks and they want to do right by them. I know she's got the slogan in her campaign that comes from her days as a prosecutor, Kamala Harris for the people. She really is like that behind the scenes. She cares about people.